You all right? You good?
It actually, I don't think it makes any difference on this one for some reason. So we're gonna go.
We're just gonna start the video to let you
Got it.
start.
There's going to be a standalone speaking between me and you. So we're going to You got all of it? Good deal. Need help? How you doing? Need help with the chair? Careful.
Extra chair.
You can sit up here or you can sit in the audience wherever you want to sit.
We'll throw you in here. Good? Sorry, making that a little harder for you.
It's all right. I think we're on the short road this one. I ain't the one that's ready to drive. How's that? How you doing? Good. How are you about? Getting by. Got no blood on the boot, man.
How you doing? Good to see you. How you doing?
Appreciate it.
Good. Yeah. Tired. Hi. How are you? Hey, Trouble. How you doing?
Yeah, this is the light version.
Yeah, I told Marty to get one set up.
Not this morning, not since If he's on time, I'm shocked. What you
I
want
know,
to do?
just so you know. You can rerun that
Well, I guess-
soundbite later. Thank you. I suppose his day is somewhat unpredictable, in fairness. But
Sam's got bronchitis.
And if you haven't signed in, you're not officially there. So I think most everybody, but there's a few that look like they're struggling a touch.
You doing all right?
Have you signed in yet? Signed. Okay. Okay.
One with somebody from the company.
One each.
Playing still
John.
The line will slow it down. I'll slow it down.
Should, yeah.
Dylan. That's a copy of it. Okay, y'all ready? Thanks, sir. Y'all ready to get started?
It's like 9.
All righty. Good morning, everybody. My name is Brian Kellenberger. I'm the Director of Beach Operations. Appreciate your time and your participation in our meeting this morning. This is the 2016 Beach Vending Preseason Kickoff Meeting. So if you expect something else, you need to get up and leave now. Anyway, just kidding. A few things before we get started. If you got cell phones or other communication devices, if you put them on vibrate, we'd appreciate. If you got to take a phone call, we'd appreciate if you'd step outside to do that. Later on, we'll have a question and answer period. During that time, there might be a difference of opinion on a few things. Appreciate if you'd respect everybody's opinion and them personally. We have a sign-in sheet. Please make sure that the responsible party with your company has signed in this morning and has included all the requested information. That's how we first make sure that you have attended the meeting, and we also know how to get in touch with you later on when we have announcements or changes, whatever that need to be distributed to all the beach vending community. So if you haven't, make sure you do that before you leave. A couple pieces of information were provided this morning. One of them is our FY 2015 activity report, and that is our beach code enforcement activity report of all the things we did last year. As you know, a large part of our activities is interacting with vendors, so I ask you to look at it and pay attention to the complaint area and stuff like that. Get an idea of what we face as a code enforcement regulation department. Other thing is our agenda for today, which includes some information from other agencies on how we do business on the beach. Includes a copy of the ordinance. I want to emphasize that it's very important that as part of your permit application, you sign a piece of paper that says you have received and you understand the ordinance. So this year, please make sure you read all the ordinance, in particular section 2260, which is the beach vending section of the ordinance. Understand, if you have questions, call any one of us code enforcement people, and we'll be glad to either clarify, answer, or seek a higher opinion as to what it means. But let's don't go through the year with not understanding. Let's understand and comply, or if we don't like the way the ordinance written, make efforts to change it the proper way. So with that being said, a few introductions. My name is Brian Kellenberger, Director of Beach Operations for Walton County. Stan Sunday is the Interim Executive Director and also the Assistant County Administrator for the county. In the room we have Jeff McVeigh, Code Enforcement Officer, John Irving, our Marketing Director, Chief Rick Taubert, South Walton Fire District, Josh Irvin, our Beach Maintenance Manager, Letitia and company from the Permitting Department, and some of our staff, Stacy and Lisa. There are a few other people that get introduced later on, but that's pretty much the people that interact as far as beach safety. Oh, I'm sorry, Captain Howdy Rowell, standing in the wings over here. These are the people that interact with us on the beach, in the beach safety program, life safety programs, marketing programs, and all that. So, that being said, Stan Sunday has a few comments to make before we get started.
Good morning. I'd like to welcome everybody, and thank you for coming out. We're looking forward to a busy season, and hopefully a good season where everybody works together and we all value this asset that we call our beach, that we value so much. Having said that, we value the service that you provide, and we are a firm believer that the more work that you put in on the front end of something, the less you got to put in on the back end. So hence we are here today to make sure we all understand everything. Chief Talbert and these guys had a meeting yesterday to talk about beach safety, and so today here we are again, and hope everybody has a good season.
Good morning. I'm John Irvin. I've been privileged to be in front of most of you, I think, in the last couple of years or for other occasions. And if you recall, mine's pretty much the pep talk and the easy part of today. This is Walton County, and this product, South Walton, is different not only than our neighbors, but really different in the state of Florida and in the U.S. And so I think that's what we spend all of our time on, is sharing how special we believe the services that you provide, our coastline, our preserved lands, and the accommodations. And what you might not know is that the TDC does more than just place an ad or a commercial. We're proud to fund the beach safety program, which is it's almost $1 million in the course of a year through education, advertising, the lifeguards, which you'll hear a little bit more about. We support Turtle Watch. We support and are honored by the guys on Josh's team and Brian's team you see every day out there, from 670 trash receptacles that make this one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. You all make this one of the most beautiful beaches in the world. So if you'll take away nothing else, we know that you are the ones that are the caretakers of that audience, of those consumers. And it's the most important thing in the world to have earned the loyalty of visitors who want to come back and want to partake in some of the best beach experiences in the United States. And what you're doing is working. Florida is the most visited place in the world. South Walton, the last 2 summers, was the #1 coastal tourism economy in the state of Florida. Outgrossed Miami, outgrossed Keys, outgrossed Tampa. You guys are the epicenter of beach in the summer. Makes it a little tough sometimes, that's to be expected, but just so that you know how much we appreciate it. Sounds contrary, we don't actually spend any time at this point promoting people to come in the summer. Most places are running near or at capacity. Our mission has really been to try to help extend seasons. I think you guys are seeing that in the fall. Some of the fall numbers have been incredible. We hope that makes a difference for you. We believe it makes a difference for the working families of Walton County, which is why we get up every day and do our best to try to keep finding ways to expand those seasons where there's opportunity through special events. Again, almost another $1 million is put into the events in this community that are beyond the beach season. So that's a little bit of a more general view. Some people just know us for code enforcement or just know us for marketing, but there's a lot more going on. And then the last 2 things I really want to just mention, I know you guys know this, but safety on the beach is a huge deal. The flag colors, our flagpoles, all adhere to state standards. So if at any time signage or those pieces that are near where you're operating don't look up to standard, all you got to do is tell somebody. We will get it up to standard. That's very, very important. Signage, we can actually help with that. The state provides, we will purchase signage if you're in an area where there's high visibility and people don't know the difference between double red and red. Please ask us. We want to keep the children of the families that so enjoy partaking in your businesses safe. We make that easy to keep up with in a couple of ways. There's text programs right on this front page, 67463. You can get updates every time the flags change in your pocket with a smartphone. And the guests can do the same thing if you have folks that are trying to figure that out. There's resources available. When you share that, you're more effective than we can be because you're on the ground day to day and we're not. So when you're doing your spring startup with staff, please consider making sure that your staff is capable of reciting that and sharing that. And then the last thing, even on our Facebook page, you can get daily updates. We will give you the code for free, and you can have it on Facebook page that you have if you'd like, that gives people the option to see the daily colors. So we'll be here. Any information that you want, any questions you have, you know we're always available, and we thank you for the opportunity to be in front of you today. And I think next, right, will be Jeff McVeigh, but I do want to take a moment. Brian introduced a bunch of people. We have a couple of new faces. Gayla Schaefer is our new community relations coordinator, just started this month. And so we welcome her, and you'll be seeing a little bit more of her. And I don't know that Alicia is in the room today, but we invite you to come to the building anytime that you're in the area. We do have brochure racks for local services, so if you haven't paid us a visit in a while, please do so. Thanks very much, and here's Jeff McVeigh.
Good morning. I guess everybody's about as excited to see me as you are to have the chicken pox. We get labeled with the nice guys to 50% of the people and the guys that everybody hates to the other 50%. So we're going to make somebody happy and make somebody mad. That's just the nature of our job. Couple things, just Dave and Junior's in the room. Make sure that if you don't have our contact information, our cards are on the table. Somebody's on the beach in the summertime from 5 in the morning till 11 at night, sometimes even later than that. So if anybody needs something, if you see something happen that we need to know, just know that you can the best thing to do is text us or email us, and whoever's on will get that, or whoever gets the text will send the text to whoever's on duty. So if you need us, call us if we can help you. Like I say, most of you don't want to see us, but if you do need us for some reason, make sure you know how to get up with us. I'm not going to take the ordinance line by line. We're not going to just read through it. There's nothing changed since you got the ordinance last year, with the exception of the 50% rule. I'll touch those. The regional access locations are marked with 2 markers. One marker generally up on the boardwalk, one lower on the boardwalk. So that's the middle of the access, whatever the measurements come out to be. The easiest way to locate that is the lifeguard stands. The lifeguard stands generally set up in the middle. So we've asked those guys to help us with that. So they try to work the lifeguard stand to mirror the middle boundary, if you will. So lifeguard stands, your corridor, which is the 10-foot wide that you have to leave for the lifeguards. So whatever position you're supposed to be on that particular beach, use the lifeguard stand as your landmark, if you will. If there's any question, it's marked at the toe of the dunes and on the boardwalks behind you. So the neighborhood accesses are a little more difficult. There was some, when the 50% rule came into play last year, it was regional and neighborhood. Then the neighborhoods was like, hang on a minute, we're going to rethink that. And then it was back to the 50% on the neighborhood. So effective today, 50% rule on neighborhood accesses and regional accesses. So same rule applies. There'll be some delineating marker on all of the locations that tells you where you are to be at. On the neighborhood accesses, there will be a post at the toe of the dunes. The 4x4 posts that you're familiar with on the beach, most of you in the west or the east end now are leaving. There'll be one post at the toe of the dune that the best way to describe it that I can tell you is a real estate sign. It's a piece of PVC pipe with a T on the top of it, and that arm that points out towards the water is there so you can line it with that arm. There'll be a sticker on the front of it that says vendor and an arrow. So whichever way the vendor arrow is pointing, that's the location you should be on those neighborhood access locations. We're also going to put the stickers on the regional access locations. Be a little more difficult to see because of the lifeguard stand. If you have any questions about that, if you're working in an area that's got a lot of that stuff, text us, call us. One of us will come out and meet you wherever you work at most often, and we'll explain that to you, make sure everybody's on the same sheet of music. We don't want it to be a surprise. We want to tell you up front. They're there, and we'll come help you make sure you understand it. So don't be scared to call us and say, hey, I just want to make sure I'm doing it right. I mean, code enforcement is compliance, voluntary compliance is our goal, okay? So we want voluntary compliance. So if we can figure out what to do, then it's easier for you to do what the ordinance calls for you to do. Make sense? It's not too confusing, I don't think. It's probably less confusing than the post. So beyond that, the storm preparations, we've not had a storm lately. A lot of questions, a hurricane, a storm that is, knock on wood, Chief.
Thanks.
We've not had a situation where there was a local state of emergency issued that really affected us too bad. Remember when that happens, though, that when a local state of emergency happens, you have 24 hours to get your equipment off the beach, okay? It's not, if you want to or if you got enough guys working that day to do it, the ordinance says that you have 24 hours to move your stuff off the beach from the time the local state of emergency is issued. We have close enough ties with the Emergency Operations Center. We can usually get a heads up on that and know that it's coming. And when we know that that's coming, then obviously we'll push that out to you. And we're not going to flatten people's tires for trying to get their stuff off the beach before a storm. However, just know that the ordinance requires you to have your stuff off the beach in the event of a local state of emergency. There was some confusion about that, some questions. Well, I don't think it's going to get bad enough, or and then we chase chairs and boxes and all up and down the beach. So it's one of the deals we just need to know the ordinance, act in the way that the ordinance tells us we have to act. Vehicle access, 5 trips a year is what the the administrative practice is you get a permit from the planning department, Letitia's, and these 4 ladies right here that handle permitting. When you get your permit, you get a setup permit. So you can drive on the beach 1 day per location. So if you got 4 site-specific permits, then you can get a driving permit 1 day for each of those permits. You have to have that in your truck. If we stop you, if the sheriff's office stops you, if whoever stops you and you don't have that permit, that's just like driving on the beach without a permit, and it's $200. So just know that it's available to you for setup and tear down. It's available to you at Labor Day, Memorial Day, and 4th of July, so that's the 5. So you can get a permit to add stuff or remove stuff 5 times a year. So plan that ahead when you start doing your setups. Make sure you got enough help to get your stuff out and get your stuff off. So again, it's 1 day per permit. Make sense? Driving on the beach has been a topic again that's come to us. If you have greater than 1,000 linear foot of beach, you can use a lightweight UTV only. So if you have greater than 1,000 foot of continuous beach, you can get a permit. Don't cost you anything. You just have to have the permit listed on your permit that you've got 1,000 foot of beach and you got lightweight vehicles. The differences in that is you have to have VIN numbers on your vehicles, and it has to be listed in your insurance that you're driving on the beach. Questions about that real quick? All right. The fine schedule, if anybody's curious about that, I've got some copies laid on the table here that's got the resolution that tells you how much, what it costs for permits and what the fine is for each violation and the different types of violations. So if anybody's interested in that, generally speaking, it's $500 for site-specific, $500 for delivery, and $500 for water sports, and then $50 for each additional permit. Is there a fee, Letitia, for jet skis, or is it just the additional paperwork for jet skis? Okay, so if you got watercraft, you need to look at that and know what it costs you per jet ski. So as far as permitting goes, I'm going to ask that 40 of you don't go in there this afternoon to try to do your permits. You can go online and get the permit application, the checklist, fill it all out, know that you got it, bring it, turn it into this crew here. They will make sure everything's there. They'll notify us. One of the 3 of us will come by and review the permit. If everything's in line with the permit, then we sign off on it. If anything is questionable, or if it doesn't really line up with how the ordinance specifically states, then we send it on up the food chain. So last year, I think we had 3 or 4 that got kicked back. So out of 106, I think permits, 3 or 4 I don't think is real bad. So I think that does it for the ordinance. Anything that you guys can think of? Junior or Dave? That it?
Only thing I'd like to add is our boxes that's left on the beach over here in the winter. I know when the season's over, everybody's like, man, it's hunting season, you want to get away for a while. We got boxes left on the beach, and you're responsible for them all year. And we do have tourists come down in all season, and we've got boxes that are tore up, not maintained, just look nasty, because everybody took off and left them. And make sure that we get our numbers on our boxes so we can get a hold of the correct people to get them boxes secured.
So again, the equipment on the beach is your responsibility 12 months out of the year. If you leave it, it's still your responsibility. And we're going to enforce it by the ordinance, all right? Everybody clear on that? Perfect.
Okay, a few discussions about the ordinance revisions that were made in 2015. Jeff has already explained them, the 50% rule, lifeguard rule, change in total text time, some insurance changes. Everybody complied with those real well last year. We appreciate it. Part of our assessment last year was our post-season meeting where we took in input. Also, throughout the year, we received input in the form of complaints, emails with just ideas or whatever. We put all that information together, and we came up with a few items in the ordinance we felt need to be considered for change this year. We submitted those to the county commission on January 12th. They have asked for, well, the items, it's pretty simple. The items that surfaced during our assessment were the section that governs vending on public beaches that are seaward of private property. In our traditional order beach neighborhoods, we have that condition on about 4 different areas down our beach. Anyway, that's what's called section or paragraph D8, and it's the upland property owner's written authorization for commercial vending. We felt that there was a conflict between issuing permits to vend on public beaches and then also giving another entity the ability to say no to that vending. So we asked that that be considered for revision to omit that conflict. The other one was storage at the toe of the dune. As we all know, last year, a interpretation of the ordinance revealed that vendors are allowed to store their equipment at the toe of the dune, provided it is to be rented the next day. Last year, the neighborhood beach accesses and the regional beach accesses got sort of cluttered up with chairs that appeared to not be rented the next day. I understand most of you have weekly contracts or enter into weekly contract agreements, and it's sufficient to store them at the toe of the dune. So anyway, in order to preserve the beauty of the public beach accesses, we asked for consideration that that be looked at and changed or revised to restrict too much storage at the toe of the dune. The last item was a consideration for what we call a vending management plan, and that had 2 components: at regional beach accesses and at neighborhood beach accesses where there is an associated public beach. All 3 of those items are still under consideration by the BCC. They have requested more information, which we will submit at the February 9th BCC meeting that will be here at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. I highly encourage everybody to attend to make their voices be heard for whichever way they would like to see changes be made. With that being said, the ordinance will be enforced as is written today. If any changes do occur, they will be immediately announced via email, websites, personal contact in some cases, but we'll make sure that we give everybody the opportunity to understand any revisions to the ordinance. But right now, ordinance is as in its present form, included in this booklet, also included online under Walton County Municipal Code. You can type in Walton County Muni Code and it'll take you right to it. It's also contained in different websites. But once again, I highly encourage you to understand it, know it. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to give us a call to clarify, get more information so that, be proactive in understanding so that we're not out there arguing over if it's this or that. But the main thing I wanted to reiterate is that there are no changes for this year. The vending zones as published last year under their last revision, which was submitted in late July, are still in effect. We anticipate there will be a slight movement of these vendor zones. They will be approved also at the February 9th meeting, and we will immediately publish those vendor zones. Regional beach accesses remain the same. Neighborhood beach accesses will have a slight movement in some of the vendor zones to accommodate the upland property owners who have not given any authorization and have told us so. So be aware of that. That information will be distributed via email, websites, and any other form we need to once that decision is made. So Captain Addie Rowell will now give you Walton County Sheriff's Office.
Thank you, Brian. I'm Audie Rowell with the Walton County Sheriff's Office. First, I'd like to thank our partners in the spring break operation, both South Walton Fire and TDC. Without them, we certainly couldn't do what we do. But most importantly is our partnership with the vendors. I believe that we have built a fairly good relationship with most of the vendors, and that's very important to us. Number one is that y'all are our eyes and ears a lot of times out there on the beach. Y'all see things that we don't. Y'all call us. We respond. We help. Y'all help us. And certainly, if you do see something, if you see us down on the beach dealing with a situation and you happen to have seen something, please approach us and let us know what you saw. We would consider you a credible witness, and we would want to have your information and your input as to what will happen. Sometimes that will help us decide what we need to do in the situation. So again, I thank you for your help with us and helping us make spring break a safer place and helping us do our job. A couple of changes in the Sheriff's Office that I think would be important to y'all. Most of y'all know who Lieutenant Robert Gray is. You built a strong relationship with him, or Lieutenant Doc Savage. One thing about a Sheriff's Office, the only thing constant is change. And so we have a lot of change going on. The Sheriff decided to do a shake-up for no reason, that he felt like it was time for lots of people in the agency to move around. Lieutenant Gray and both Lieutenant Savage have been transferred. Lieutenant Gray is going to Juvenile Services, and Lieutenant Savage is going to our District 1 Bureau up on the north end. So we have two new district lieutenants, one being Lieutenant Matt Mikowski, which is replacing Lieutenant Gray, and the other is Lieutenant Scott Hogaboom, who is replacing Lieutenant Doc Savage. Now, Lieutenant Mikowski will be in our District 3, which is our west end, Santa Rosa Beach, Miramar Beach area. And Scott Hogaboom will be over in the Seaside and Rosemary area. So that will be some important changes. You'll see some new faces. So I look forward to meeting with them. They'll be starting this Monday, so they'll be up and ready for spring break. So we will be sending them out, and you'll be able to meet them. We will be running two operations again this year. The first one, we call it our College Spring Break. That runs between February 27th and March 30th, right around that time. That's called our College Spring Break. Majestic Suns, Seascape, all that. We know the drill down there. And then our second operation will be over in Seaside again, which we call our High School Spring Break. We see a lot of Atlanta kids come down. That again will run the 1st of April through about the middle of April, I think April 16th. So not much change there. Now, one thing that I do get asked a lot about from the public is, so what's up with Panama City banning alcohol on the beach? We hear Destin's now dumping a bunch of money for overtime for their law enforcement services. How is that going to affect us? Are we going to have Panama City over here doing this, that, and the other? I would never stand here and tell you I can predict what's going to happen this year. I do believe it's going to be busy just like every other year. But one thing that we obviously differ from than Panama City and even Destin is our housing demographic. As you know, it's not high-rise after high-rise after high-rise after high-rise and after high-rise. Yes, we have a few of them down on the Scenic Gulf area. We got one or two on 30A. But we just don't have that type of housing demographic where folks can really gather up in the thousands upon thousands upon thousands in a very short area, small area, and cause a lot of problems. Generally, I would say that most of our problems are contained. Majestic Suns, they all cross the street. We fish in a barrel. We take them to jail. And it's pretty easy. Same with Seaside. Seaside, they pretty much stay around the Seaside area. Doesn't mean we don't have problems in other areas. Again, as part of going back to the operational plan, talking about taking them to jail, everybody's going to go north. So that we call it the rule of four. You get one in a group of four. It takes the other three, half a day to the rest of the day to get them out of jail. So if we arrest 100, that's about 400 we can take out of the mix, just trying to get one person out of jail. Other than that, we are gearing up. We'll have plenty of overtime going. We are restricting our staffing days off, so we'll be in full force. We will have our command bus out at both locations, both at Majestic Suns and Seaside, so if you see it, you're more than welcome to come by. Are there any questions of the Sheriff's Office that y'all have, or anything that you would like to know? Yes, sir.
What does a standard MIP run, minor in possession run, just so I can tell some of my customers that they need not be going out?
You talking about the fine and all that? Yeah. $250, I believe, is yeah. But some people don't understand all that. That's for a no contest plea. So if you plead no contest and you just want to get done with it, you can pay the fine, or you can go to a court hearing or whatever you want to do. So, anything else? All right, and have Chief Rick Talbert come up and speak to us next. Chief.
Thank you, Captain. Good morning, everyone. My name is Rick Talbert. I'm your fire chief here in South Walton Fire District, and I want to apologize in advance. Our fire marshal, Sammy Sanchez, is usually here to provide you some information on bonfires, and our beach safety director, David Vaughn, is usually here, but they had prior commitments, so they asked me to step in and try to fill you in on some of the things we do during the beach season. I, too, would like to first start off and say thank you to you, the vendors. Our mission is quite simple. We have a formal mission we call prompt, competent, caring response in your time of need. But our primary mission out there, as you're well aware of, for our citizens and visitors, is to educate and prevent things from happening. And I thank each and every one of you because we consider you a resource partner, and I hope you consider us the same with helping out when you have issues on the beach where you have somebody who's had too much sun, too much to drink, where you've stopped them and educated them on the beach flags and what we consider preventative actions, keep them from making something on the beach from a pleasurable experience to a catastrophic experience where it takes all of our resources, law enforcement, fire rescue, and the like, to start making rescues in the Gulf of Mexico. So I thank each and every one of you, and hopefully you'll consider us resource partners as well. As most of you know, we have an exclusive arrangement with the TDC, a contractual agreement with the TDC. We're funded in total by the TDC for our beach safety and education program, which includes lifeguards. We were fortunate enough this year to ink another contract for the next few years, so we're very, very pleased about that. And I think we're going into our 10th year now of providing this level of protection and education on our beaches, so we're very proud of that. We are covering 9 different locations, our public beach accesses. We will have a new feature this year. We will have a guard on an ATV that will be patrolling and what we call roving in the Grayton vicinity. Now that we continue to see crowds and visitors increase, that does not take away from the 6 other public beach, 6 of those 9 towers that we have out there that have ATVs where our guards are able to move from place to place, what we call gaps, where we have those public beach accesses, and then we know there's a lot of neighborhoods and condominiums in between. So we hope that will strengthen our response time and also strengthen our presence out there on the beaches. So hopefully that will help you. I think it was mentioned before in the ordinance talking about the 10-foot corridor. That's very, very important to us. We ask you to help us with that. We really had no issues last year. I think we only had one isolated incident where we had somebody that kind of resisted and challenged that a little bit, but I think it was a matter of just a little bit of education, kind of got things back on track. But that 10-foot access is very, very important to us. And also, David asked me to pass on that he's calling it just like driving the 10 and 2. With the umbrellas being set up, if we have a line of sight of about 10 and 2, that always helps us, especially when we have large crowds out there on the beach. He also wanted me to relay to you, which I think some of you have had experience with this before, if it's a matter of making sure that we have good line of sight along that water's edge, that if we are able to move that tower forward or move it in a fashion that helps you with the umbrellas and also helps us with line of sight, we're agreeable to that. If you guys help and work with us, we'll work with you. On the lines of access, also access with regard to getting on the beach. I think most of you know what to expect if we have a medical emergency or water-related emergency on the beach. Our lifeguards are trained as first responders. They have medical training. They have radios that are in direct contact with South Walton Fire Dispatch, and we have direct contact with Walton County Sheriff's Department. But if they need medical attention other than just that first response, you're going to see that's going to necessitate more personnel. And a lot of that is geared towards the time of the year as well. When we have large crowds, our call volume goes up. Last year, for instance, I will let you know, in our 84 square mile fire district here, our fire district ran fire and EMS. We ran 5,200 calls. Almost 5,300 calls for emergency services. And I'd say a little over 75% of those were medical related. So what to expect out there, I know we're asked a lot of times, why all the sirens, why all the trucks? We're busy, quite honestly, and then we situationally move some of our resources around, especially during that spring break period in the Miramar Beach area and Seaside when that's appropriate, move some resources around so we can have quicker response and be on scene. But as you are well aware, when we have an emergency on the beach, it's all hands on deck. It's quite a long transfer a lot of times out of the water, off the sand, and up to a parking area to take this person to the hospital. So time is of the essence most times with a drowning, a cardiac arrest. So access, I come back to that parking your vehicles, please make sure those areas that are designated as for emergency vehicles only. A couple things about that. We know this firsthand. I believe SO knows this firsthand. It's a pretty viral society now with cell phones. People take your pictures and they'll send them to us, and it's got your brand and your name on the side of the trucks, in the back of the trucks. They send that to us. That's not helpful. The other thing, a lot of us have encountered it personally where we ask, and I'll just let you know, a lot of the folks that you hire, I know that you depend on them to do things, but their threshold for pain is not very great. They'll throw down on you guys pretty quick. Well, my boss said it's okay. That's what we hear most of the time. They're popped, they know and we tell them, most of them, I think if you've ever had it happen, a lot of them, I'll give them my card personally and just tell them, we're trying to be good neighbors. If your boss or anybody else has a question, ask them to call me personally. And I don't get calls from you guys, so I'm pretty sure that it corrects that behavior pretty quickly. But access, if you would just share that with your team members as well. Access is critically important to us. Minutes and seconds count, and we know this. And our success rate with medical emergencies and drownings and preventing drownings out there shows that. I think that's about all I have. Oh, bonfires. Let me touch on that real quick. Sammy asked me to cover that. Bonfires, how many provide that service out there? Show of hands. I know you're probably asked, like we are a lot of times, what's the deal with bonfires? You know, the middle of the summer, it's hot as the daylight's out there. What's the lure? Bonfires are popular. We know this, right? And they're an important feature, and it's an added feature here for everybody's experience on the beach. We're very proud to provide that permitting, and by and large, we have very, very little feedback with regard to it being a negative experience. Some of the things we do here, however, it's basically the cleanup. And anything you can do to help us with, and I don't really have numbers to show you that it's more of a vendor issue than it is just a visitor coming in to get a bonfire permit. I know a lot of our vendors have reported it to us, but those embers, when we're cleaning up and just cleaning the general area up to take some of that black embers off of that beach is one of the things that we hear about the most. So if you could help us with that, we'd appreciate it. You know, the bonfire experience as a whole, the other thing we've heard from vendors alike too, that, well, you know what we saw some people, it wasn't a vendor, it was about a month ago. That's not helping us. We issued that permit. We're pretty exacting on where that permit's issued. So if you see something, you know, kind of see something, say something, you in turn take a picture, send that to us the next day or at the time and let us know exactly where that's at, because we have been known to get a hold of some of our visitors and we've given them till noon to go back and correct that situation, or we have a naughty or nice list based on our ordinance that they will not enjoy that experience again in South Walton as far as getting a permit for a bonfire. So you would help us greatly if you could help us police the area as well. And I know, as I said, a lot of folks talk about, you know, bonfires, they're kind of anti-bonfire, but the numbers tell us otherwise. We issued 2,368 permits in 2015 for bonfires, and that doesn't include the individuals that have annual permits. So we're having more than 2,300 bonfires on our beaches. You know, code enforcement checked 514 permits of those 2,300. If you look at it, that's about 21% of them. And of that, there was 177 warnings. So that's about 7% of those that had bonfires, 7.5%, were issued a warning. And actual citations, less than 1%. So we know that there are some issues out there that we need to correct. So just help us try to correct them, and we'll continue to be an advocate for you to be able to have the bonfires, but we all need to help one another because it's an absolute privilege for us to be able to do it. I think we're the only beaches in Florida that really permit to have a bonfire on the beaches. So it's like I said, an added feature. Everybody enjoys it, so we want everybody to continue to have that experience as well. So just help us with it. Last thing I'll leave you with, and I'll sit down, is along those lines, to have those bonfires and being a privilege, we work very, very closely with Turtle Watch. Everybody works closely with Turtle Watch, right? And we try to educate ourselves as much as we can to be respectful of Turtle Watch and their mission on the beaches to help educate those that are having bonfires. Brown Jeep Wrangler, headlights are on. Brown Jeep Wrangler, headlights are on. Thank you. We're also working with the Park Service right now on nesting shorebirds. We hear a lot about that during the season and with bonfires. So I was mentioned to our TDC partners yesterday in a meeting that we are trying to arrange, and they were amicable to maybe put on a little bit of a class or an overview for us on nesting shorebirds for our lifeguards. We asked if TDC, their maintenance folks and code enforcement may be interested. I'll pass that along through TDC. You in fact may be interested if they do a class like that or an overview. We told them we'd certainly host post it, that may be something that would help you as well when we're challenged or questioned sometimes, or even where we're locating our bonfires. So again, we're just trying to help one another out there. Does anybody have any questions for me in the fire district? Yes, sir.
My question is, so with more guests coming down to the beaches here in the fall, I know the lifeguard season ends at the end of September.
Yes.
And I had a lot of my guests, like, I was running about 60 sets on Ed Walleen, and on top of a very busy public access. Is there any discussion on extending that lifeguard season to cater to the higher influx of people in the fall?
That's a great question. Actually, there has been some discussion, and we're watching that very, very closely. We've actually lengthened the season by a week, 2 weeks?
days.
Yeah, about 10 days this year, and we're going to continue to monitor that. I will tell you that it's entirely possible for us to do that. And I know we have a communication level with our TDC partners that if we're seeing numbers that are that high in the future, we will work with them directly to see what we can do to arrange that we make sure we do have coverage during those periods. But we're watching it very closely, and we too are seeing that trend go up. Any other questions for the fire district? Again, I thank each and every one of you. I wish you the best of luck. Have a happy and safe season.
How's it going, guys? My name's Matt McGarrett, if you don't know me. I'm here representing South Walton Turtle Watch this year. They've just recently created a position for me where I will be the sea turtle liaison to you guys. So Sharon Maxwell will still be the head lady. She still holds the permit. But if you guys have any issues, problems, complaints, or just need to talk, I'll be the guy you'll contact. So basically my job is to get a great working relationship with every vendor out there. My wife's the coordinator for the section from 4 Mile Village to Captain Dave's, and we had a great year last year. A lot of the beach service guys helped us out. We're friends with a lot of these guys. I surf with a lot of you guys. So basically that's going to be my job this year, to make sure everything runs smooth, make sure you guys can get set up early. The texting program has not changed. It's in the manual how to sign up. Is there any questions real quick about how to sign up for the texting program? No, it's pretty straightforward. Sharon told me this morning that basically if you were signed up last year, you're still signed up. Unless you took yourself out of the system, you're still there. So it's pretty straightforward. I think it's been a great program. I hope most of you guys are happy with it. Basically, that is it. I'll give that, if anybody wants my number, come up to me, get my number afterwards. I don't know if Sharon's going to put me on a call list or something. I literally just found out about this about a week ago. So does anyone have any questions for me or anything?
What day do y'all start walking?
Oh, gosh, we're going to start, is it usually May? I think, yeah. Yeah. So that's when we'll start walking. So right now we're still getting volunteers together and trying to figure all that out. But anything else?
What was your name?
Matt McGarrett. Yeah. So yeah, that's it, man. Just you guys touch base with me if you want my number. Call me for anything you need, any problems. I don't want any more tension between vendors and I've heard all kind of crazy stories, but I can promise you that no one's out to get anybody or cause anyone a hard time. We're just there looking out for the sea turtles. And usually you guys help us and are a great asset to the area. So that's it. Talk to me afterwards if you want.
All right, we saved the best for last. As I was introduced earlier, my name is Josh Irvin. I'm the beach maintenance manager here at the TDC. Just wanted to spend a few moments today to kind of explain who we are, what we're responsible for, and then lastly, what you as vendors can do to kind of help us out this year. We are currently a crew of 15, hopefully going to be adding a few more here in the next few weeks. We operate 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We work out of our maintenance facility there on Highway 83. I think some of you have probably been there, not because you wanted to. I will tell you that we are much friendlier than our code enforcement counterparts. Feel free to stop by and see us if you ever need anything. We don't carry citation books, so keep that in mind. Some of the things we're responsible for, we maintain over 60 beach and bay access and lake accesses here in South Walton. We're also responsible for fleet maintenance. Have several inland facilities we take care of. We are also responsible for the multi-use path. Probably one of our key responsibilities is obviously trash removal. We have over 600 garbage collection stations that we touch every day during the season. So that keeps us quite busy. We have a couple of things that we would like for you to kind of help us out with this year. One of those is being cognizant of what you're putting in the bag holders. Obviously, the ordinance requires you guys to remove your litter at the end of the day. So just, be aware of what you're putting in there. We had an injury last year where a guy was lifting a bag that was full of bonfire debris. He ended up hurting his back and was out the whole year. So we were without a person for the whole season. So just be aware, if you do have to put some heavy items in the bag holders, just spread them out among several bag holders if you can, preferably. Remove them off the beach. And then probably the last thing that we would like you to do is just spread the word on the Leave No Trace rule. We removed over 3,000 Leave No Trace items last year. It was quite a burden. We're going to do some things a little bit different this year. Hopefully, last year we would pick those items up and hold them. Anything that was salvageable, we'd hold them for 7 days behind our warehouse. We found out that that was a little bit more demanding than we thought. So this year, if we pick something off the beach, it's all going into the dumpster immediately after we get off the beach. So if you could spread that word, let everyone know that, hey, if you leave something on the beach, those beach maintenance guys are going to come and take it. So if we could get that word out, that would be great. I really don't have anything else for you. My contact information is in the little handout. I have some business cards there if you would like one of those. Again, we're here 365 days a year, 7 days a week. So if we can ever be of any assistance, please let us know. Thank you.
On the beach maintenance stuff, when you see those guys bust their natural rear ends out there. Tell them you appreciate them. And we hear a lot of that stuff about stuff getting put in bags that's causing these guys issues. So if you guys see that, help them out the best you can. Chief Talbot alluded to the emergency access a while ago, not only on the lifeguard stands, but remember that drivable corridor at the toe of the dunes. We get asked, do you want it forward? Do you want it back? Do you want it? Our preference is the toe of the dunes, 26 miles. And that's for us, the sheriff's office, the beach maintenance guys, that's where the trash hangers are at. The lifeguards, we realize that in the middle of the beach, the Seagrove area, you get pinched back some. I'm sorry, got to leave us room to get by there. Okay, so, and it's not only so we can come aggravate you because you got glass on the beach, it's because the lifeguards and the sheriff's office get up and down the beach too. On permitting, if we've got any of your chairs, you don't get a permit till we get your chairs. I got a list of the chairs that are over there if you want to check with me before you leave. And that's it. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Okay, once again, thank you all for coming to our meeting today. If you know other vendors that didn't make it, we have another meeting on February 3rd. This meeting is mandatory to get a permit. So once again, please make sure you sign in. The information that was handed out, please get it and read it. The activity report is pretty enlightening. There's contact info in this book. We will distribute Matt's contact info so that it will be on our website. I'm sure it's on their website, and you'll have it handy. One thing I want to mention is the ordinance has not changed at all. It's the same as it was written last year. Read it, know it, understand it. Permit process, make sure you have all your info. There's a checklist. Make sure you have all your info when you come the first time. It will expedite your permit process. Vendor zones will be distributed shortly after February 9th. That'll be for the neighborhood beach accesses. Ambassadorship, y'all are the front lines on the beach. Appreciate the professional image you've shown and continue to show that. And courtesy on the beach. Reiterate to all your employees that, being courtesy to whoever else you're interacting with on the beach makes it harmonious for everybody. That means other, clients, agencies that, deal on the beach, just anybody. Just, start off being courtesy instead of, trying to be indifferent or whatever. But that's all I ask for. Also, once again, if you got any questions, our contact numbers are in here, email, phone numbers, call us and ask us. We're here to help, and that's what we want to be. So,
can I say one more thing?
Yes, sir.
I don't want Sammy or David to yell at me. I forgot something. I'd be remiss if I didn't bring this up real quick. We're talking about our partnership out there on the beach. Several of you know CPR, been CPR trained, first aid and all that. We just ask you kindly, if you do experience or you witness something on that beach from a medical aspect or even a water rescue, remember, let's think about CPR training. What's the first thing they tell you to do? Dial 911. Tell somebody to dial 911. even if you know one of our guards, you know our beach safety director, you know Captain Rao, Chief Talbot, whoever, we might not be on the beach, we might not be at that same location every day. Call or have someone call dial 911. That sequence of events is critical to the success and the outcome for that person. So just try to avoid calling somebody on their cell phone or hitting them on a Nextel or whatever. Just please dial 911. We appreciate it.
Okay, any questions? Any comments? Yes, sir.
Neighborhood beach accesses, you said you were going to divide those up 50-52. What are the ones that don't have that much room, like maybe the width of the boardwalk, 5 or 6 feet, y'all going to divide those up also?
No, there was a list published last year that was called Exhibit C, which was the neighborhood beach accesses that have an associated amount of public beach with them. We don't consider a beach access that is just truly on an easement that only has 8 or 10 feet or 5 feet, one of those accesses. So there's a list called Exhibit C that was distributed last year. Once again, that list will go back out shortly after February 9th, and it will have the definitive vendor zones marked. And in addition, it will also have the upland property owners' property outline that have issued a blanket no vendor authorization. That last year when this started, we started delineating the vendor zones. We immediately started getting requests or mandates from upland property owners exercising that paragraph D8. And that's why the vendor zones moved slightly, mainly in the Seagrove area last year. But right now that list is as it is, and I expect a little bit of movement on some of the vendor zones in the Seagrove, Sea Highlands area, and then depending on what happens with the BCC's decision on D8, paragraph D8, there might be more movement later in the year. As soon as that happens, we will immediately publish any changes to those vendor zones. So, and at any time if you got a question, you can call my office. Everybody in my office knows where these maps are, and they can immediately get them to you. Okay. Any more questions, comments? Yes, sir.
We get permits to drive on the beach. Is it still 3 days at the beginning of the year we get per location?
Jeff?
Or is it just 1 day now?
What have you been doing, Letitia? It was a day per permit?
Per location.
3 days?
Per location.
Is it 3 days at the beginning and get 3 days?
But
at
not
the
3
end?
days just for you to go, let's say, just because you don't want to go, but not to.
Well, no, that's not, I'm trying, I mean, I can, there's just, with some.
If you have so
beaches,
many
got
chairs and stuff like that,
Yeah.
and you put it on your list, on your application, then, 3 days per location.
At the beginning,
At
and
the
3 days to
beginning.
get it all.
Mm.
At the end.
Okay, that's all I need.
Yep. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Josh Irvin, talking about the leave no trace. I was just curious, like say tents or canopies that are left on, or that are put out on the beach before the service tax comes through, is that stuff that the TDC is gonna pick up?
If it is in violation,
On the beach, if it's put out on the beach
Yeah,
before the
if it-
service tax comes through?
yeah, if it's in violation of leave no trace, we will attempt to get all the items. Now, our SOP for that is we start at a certain time in the early evening, and we run until really sunrise. Depending on what time of year it is how it coincides, sunrise with turtle text and all that. So, but yes, if it's in violation of leave no trace ordinance, it can be expected to be picked up. Now, to say we will get everything, we don't get everything because we can't cover the whole beach every night.
But the tourists are supposed to wait until the beach has been,
They are. The leave no trace ordinance applies to them as well. And the definition of leave no trace is the sandy, flat portion of the beach. That's between the water's edge and the toe of the dune, or a permanent line of vegetation. Okay. Questions, comments? All righty. Yes, ma'am.
If all the beach vendors can give this is Jennifer Sealer, she showed you the new process. Karen Owen, and Amy Floyd. So you won't be seeing me that much this year.
Hold your applause, please. That's good.
If you'll give a little time to get used to beach vendors, not one starting with like 15, I know the expiration date is the first, they were the first. But she ain't Friday. bring it in, or the processing part, they need a little time. So they'll know what they need to, so I'm training them, so just bear with us.
10-4. Okay. Any more questions, comments? Appreciate y'all's time today. Thanks.